Hello viewers, here is a Hampton Bay 20-inch high velocity fan model SVF20. This is one of the several high velocity fans by Hampton Bay that I've been looking to acquire for my collection. This is one of three, and this one was received by donation. I recently had a viewer write in and he said that he had one he was looking to get rid of, and so I paid for the shipping and he sent it over here at no cost. So thanks again for sending this over, very much appreciated. So I thought this was a patent rebrand like the 14-inch model was, but it's not, which makes this even more interesting. It is in fact a Midea product. It's from the 2002, and while the motor has kind of a cheap appearance to it, I suspect it's not at all cheap on the inside. Unfortunately, it was made in the China. There's the model number, SVF20. Pulls 2.7 amps. It is a PSC motor, so that's quite a bit of power. The motor model number is HVM20A, and it's from the latter portion of 2001 or the earlier portion of 2002. Probably sold in the summer of 2002. Has oil ports still, and from looking in the motor, it seems like the windings are made of a pretty decent gauge copper still. So I would be willing to say this was probably one of the last really good high velocity fans that we saw. Now, the hub is it's steel or aluminum, riveted blades, guard opens up with the clips. Solid motor. 3 speeds. It starts with low, which is nice. I like that. Something a little odd about this fan, and I'm not sure exactly what the deal is with this, but it's got 2 handles. It's got the handle up here at the top on the back, which is where it normally resides, and then there is a second handle down here, which looks like it would normally look on like a patent or something fan that you would pick it up from the top. So I'm not really sure what's going on with that. It's really strange. I've never seen another fan with 2 handles like that. It's kind of convenient, I guess, but it's very odd. The adjustment angle on this is limited. It goes from there to there. It's not a whole 360 degrees. And usually it says the Hampton Bay Fan Company, but this time it just says the Hampton Bay. There were a lot of Hampton Bay products over the years made by SMC for the ceiling fans, or Midea for the portable fans. Ever since I was very young, I always liked the Hampton Bay brand. I guess we must have gone to the Home Depot a lot, and so that was what I always remember seeing. And from my experience, especially during the 90s and the 2000s, the SMC products that Hampton Bay rebranded were really quite good quality. Even to this day, I still think, for the most part, there's of course exceptions, but for the most part, even today, Hampton Bay still chooses pretty good stuff to put their name on. And back in the 2000s, back in the 90s, and maybe the late 80s too, I think they go back that far. Hampton Bay, they used to almost always rebrand a really good solid product. So this fan, I suspected it would be pretty good quality, but I'm really impressed by this fan. The blade pitch is astronomical for one of these fans. Usually, even on the old patents, these were more of like a high-speed kind of fan. The pitch on this thing is crazy. Look at that. That's not typical at all. That's almost, well, I would think that is steeper than the pitch on the Air Queens, and those have some pretty good pitch to them. Really impressive. And it's heavy too. It's a really solid, well-built piece, and the motor is exceptionally powerful as well. I think the old ones used to be, like some of the patents from the era were only 2.3. Could be mistaken. Let me check here. I got one right here. What is this one? No, this is 2.6. That one's 2.6. That's the late 90s, so maybe not. 2.7 amps though, that's a lot of power. It's a lot of power for a 20-inch blade. Condition is pretty decent. It's got the typical pitting on the guards on the stand, but that's, you can get that off with a little bit of steel wool. I think it's a relatively low hours machine. I don't see much dust inside the motor. And that's usually the best indicator. Excuse me. There's almost no dust in there. So unless this was thoroughly cleaned and serviced by the previous owner, which is a possibility because they are a collector. I don't know, I tend to think this is very low hours on it. Very, very low hours. A lot of these did when these surface nowadays. They seem to surface either beat up and barely running or new. There's hardly ever anything in between. And somebody had theorized that the reason that transpires is because a lot of people buy these intending to use them in the house, and they're just too powerful, so they never end up using them. And I think that's a very reasonable theory. That makes a lot of sense to me. So we'll get into this in another video, but the quick story behind this one is I used to take, it wasn't boxing classes, but it was one of those like skilled fighting classes years and years ago. I think it was maybe in middle school, and the room that we had the class in had one of these fans, and at the time I really liked it because I liked everything Hampton Bay, and I always had an interest in these high velocity fans when I was younger, and I never had one until more recently. So when I saw them, I was always kind of fascinated by them. I remember it being pretty loud and pretty powerful. I guess it would make sense just from looking at it. You know, the way the blade and the motor is, I suspect that it's pretty powerful. So let's go ahead and plug this thing in. I've got the kilowatt meter out. The cord is very generic, very short. It is a 18 gauge 3-prong, no polarized cord. I'm going to move it like this, and I'll plug this in. Go to amps, and I'll try to move the camera somewhere else. Let's see here, I'll close this thing up. I don't want to deprive the airflow. This is going to be whipping the air around quite a bit, I think. Alright, go with that, that should work. I'll unplug this and move it over for now. Okay, I think that should be out of the windstream. Alright, let's set it up on the low. That's drawing 1.99 amps, and holy mackerel, that's whipping the air around. That's insane. I was not expecting this. I thought it would be like on par with the patents at most, but this is, I think this is over the patents. The balance is pretty good too. Certainly within an acceptable margin of error. Yeah, not bad at all. Down to 1.92 amps. Wow. it's not, I mean, it's noisy, but it's not that loud either. Very impressed. I don't know if you're going to be able to see this on the camera, but the blade pitch is really steep. I mean, it starts from like right here, and it doesn't end till like there. It's much steeper than usual. Looks like it may be slightly out of clock. Let's see. A little bit. Well, if I fix that, which is easy to do, then maybe it won't wobble at all. It's ever so slightly out of clock. Wow, the bearings are happy on this. I bet this was never used. Let's put it back on and we'll go up to medium. A little bit of a startup sound. I'll have to record that too. Even just standing on the side of it, you can feel the air just rushing towards the fan. Look at that. That is outrageous. Alright, let's go to the medium. I'm guessing there can't be much of a difference in the speeds on this thing. It's down to 1.86, keeps going down. Alright, let's go to number 2. Not a big difference, but there was more than I was expecting. That's 1.97 amps. I can't even stand in front of this stupid thing. And let's go to high. That's taking 2.5 amps to just under. It shakes a little bit, but not too much. This thing is insane. That is unbelievable. I think that outdoes the patents. Even like the good ones from the 90s. I'll have to do a side-by-side comparison. This thing is no joke. And the bearings are still good too. I haven't oiled it or anything yet. Again, unless the previous owner did. That's possible. Wow. I can't believe how much air that thing moves. I don't remember it being quite like that. Because at the place, they had it kind of in a corner. I think it was too close to the wall. Air wasn't getting behind it. That's wild. I was not expecting it to be that strong. Wow. Well, that's cool. That is really cool. It's neat to see one of these again after so many years. I just noticed the dial has the labels on both sides, which is kind of odd. So that's that. One of 3 highly sought after Hampton Bay high velocity fans. Very, very neat.